Hey guys, this is Killrob speaking, and today we have a massive task at hand. It is not a little dev update, there won't be any little dev update this week, but nonetheless I want to provide you with an inside look into development, and that this time would be a closer look at the calculations behind the target demographics. So what I'm going to do is to determine a single number today, or more or less get a gut feeling for what that number should be. And it is all about the target demographics and their overlap. And to test those target demographics and their overlap, I'm going to design two different brands which have one model each, which each includes 4 different trims. And these 4 trims are catering to the sports car demographic. Both of these brands try to do that, and they are competing against each other. And the categories specifically we are going to aim for are the sports budget, the sport, the GT and the GT premium categories. And to compare them so that we see how large overlap is, we also are comparing them to the commuter category, which has a very strong focus on economy and thus should not have too much overlap. The premium category, which has a pretty large overlap to the GT ones. The muscle car category, which, depending on how you go at it, has a pretty large overlap. And the family sports category, which apart from the budget of this category, has a pretty large overlap to the GT category as well. So, let's get into this and the tools we are going to use to make this happen. In order to test these 8 cars, before I build them, I want to show you some of the tools we are going to use. And one of them is, of course, all the information we have in the buyer demographics sheet. And that one has been refined quite a bit since the last time we talked about it. And I want to take the different stats from these categories, and we are specifically looking at the, not track, sport budget to GT premium categories, as well as the commuter category, the family sport category, the muscle car category, and I think the premium category, yes, there it is. And now you say, well, yes, how do you calculate those scores? Well, excellent question! I'm glad you asked. That is done here. And for every stat, we have a different progression apart from the plain stats, which all have here. Let's see. Drivability, utility, to utility have all the same progression curve to them. They are modeled using Gaussian curves again and stuff. So pretty simple, or well, maybe not so simple for most of you, but anyway, it is pretty simple, as in you only need 5 parameters in order to have them modeled, and then they follow all the same basic principles, which is really nice for programming. And okay, so what do we have here? Lots of different stats and their different progressions, which directly from a stat calculates a certain desirability score. And as you know from the first sheet, these desirabilities, for instance in the family sport category, 20% of the weight would be assigned to drivability. So what you would do is to go here, see 20%, okay, then let me check the score of the car, and let's say it's 55. And then if the score is 55, you go here, because that is where the desirability is calculated. And then you would put in 55 here, for instance, instead of 54, and then you get a score. Like, there would probably be something like 62.5 or something. And that score you then put in to here. I've already prepared something. So these are the target demographics we are going to check today, and then you see lots and lots and lots of empty fields, and all are going to be filled today, or hopefully today, because this is kind of a massive job. And I'm going to do this for all the cars, but they first have to be designed, and let's start with that now. And here we are, a big empty list with nothing in it. as the word empty would suggest. What we are going to do here is to build those two models, which each have 4 trims. But in order for this comparison to make any sense, what we are building should be rather different. And I sat down and thought a bit about what would make sense to have in a different way. And I think brand 1 will adhere to the 4 following points. It will be high-tech, performance-focused, fancy, light, and at the same time pushing the limits, as in not necessarily focusing on reliability but pushing it a little, while brand 2 is more using common tech, is more focused on power instead of performance, is focused on solid and comfortable design, and more heavy but reliable. And with that in mind, let's get started. So I've been sitting here thinking for a while and came to the conclusion that what we probably want to do is to have brand 1 focusing on the mid-engine car, while brand number 2 using more common tech and less state-of-the-art stuff would be doing better with a standard front-engine car. And this one definitely looks kinda interesting. So I'm going to start with brand 2 instead, and let's remember in this choice we are doing now, we are going to want to have common tech, power, comfortability, and being heavy and reliable. And heavy reliable, that definitely in 2015 sounds like AHS steel. But we do want to be front longitudinal and probably double wishbone, while brand number 1 would definitely go for multi-link there. And let's see, it's still kind of fancy, so let's go with aluminium here, while I think brand number 1 would go for... that's so difficult. Carbon fiber is too expensive to be in the budget version, so maybe they would go for also either aluminum or polymer even. I don't know, but they don't mess around with performance, they say. So, but also they say they're fancy, so maybe the fancy is on the inside instead. But anyway, aluminum here, or we could here just go for corrosion resistant steel. And yeah, that would fit in. I guess that would fit in with brand number 2, heavy and all. Nothing fancy really. Yeah, let's go with this. I mean, that makes for a pretty large difference, both in price and in weight, definitely. And this is brand number 2, so no quality there either. And now I'm going to put some fixtures on. And remember, I'm playing the version which allows to deform the car afterwards. So I should be able to flare out the wheel arches after. Let's see if that's working. So there we have it. From the front, a completely normal sports car. From the side, a weird looking thingy, almost shoe-like. And from the rear, it's a spaceship. And look at this spoiler lip with its weird shapes. Isn't this awful? Awesome, I mean, sorry. Freudian slip there. Anyway, so let's continue on with this one, I think, and as it's favoring the old values, it's definitely the first choice of the trim, being rear-wheel drive. Alright. And now we have to build the first engine. I think we are going to build 3 different engine variants of the first one, and then a completely new engine family for the last one. And let's see, this is supposed to be brand number 2 and the first basic engine. This very much sounds like a V8, even for the base version. So let's see, we could go for, definitely in the modern day, even though they are rather heavy, we probably should go for aluminium. And modern pushrod does sound appropriate. No Alsi here, they are not fancy, and they want a bit more power. So I think 4 liters is kind of a good start for this one. Maybe we want to go a bit higher. Let's see. 4.5. 4.5 liters. That sounds pretty much spot on there. Alright. Then we can go cast for this basic version. And a bit higher compression. Cam profile probably in the 50s. Then we want to be injected, and this one definitely multi-point. Twin. Do we need twin? No, we go for simple setup, but performance filters. And just normal premium. And let's see, they don't really care about fuel, so let's go rich. And a bit more ignition timing, revving to maybe 6.5. It's a pretty large engine, yeah, but 2015, that makes sense. Let's go with that. Tubular headers, that should be fine with those. Or maybe this version even uses cast, and then the more fancy versions step up a bit. Yeah, let's do it like that, and let's test it. And there we have it, 323, so we're definitely a bit limited by this one. Let's step it up. 333, half a devil. That sounds perfect. Let's go with this, and we do have a bit more headroom in... Oh, that was spot on. Okay. Of course, I forgot to tune the octane with this one, so I adjusted that and made sure that we still make 333 horsepower because it's so nice. And we'll see to it that the top version makes 666, I guess. But first of all, I think before we continue designing this car, we directly can make a standard version of this engine. So let's do that. Clone it and select the new one. And there we are. And let's see how we can make this one a bit more extreme. We definitely want to be putting on some forged stuff for this pure sports car. And that will be this standard stuff. We keep capacity the same. And it's nothing needs changing there. We can up compression a bit, but we do that later. Cam profile should go up a bit. This is not the extreme version yet, but let's say 65, sounds good. BVT, like we said, make it better. And I think we put on a little bit of a turbocharger. Because turbocharger kind of fits the theme of power, but we don't want to make it huge. Maybe something between economy and performance. Maybe 0.6 bars. We don't want to destroy durability either, because with this one it's supposed to be aimed at the sports car demographic, and they like to be able to drive their cars and not crash them. But we go to super, and because we are running a bit of boost, we can go here until it gets too rich. That means that we can up compression by quite a bit. Wow, by a lot even. There we go. Ignition timing to make up for the rest. Almost 500 horsepower. Come on. Yeah, oh, of course we can go up here because we chose the fancy stuff. Now that's what I'm talking about. 500 horsepower right there. That's perfect. As if I had planned it, but I didn't. Oh, look how cute! Not only do we have a non-spinning wheel on this one, but also a little snorkel coming out of it. This one is trying to off-road, I guess. But yeah, beta version. So this one, what do we do with it? I'd say this is definitely a non-fancy manual, and it has 5 gears because it's not fancy. And then we go for something like this to start out with. And locker. It does need a diff in the base version. This is still the base version. Oh, by the way, we should change this one to base. Ah, there we go. And the turbo is gone. The intercooler piping is gone. Okay, so viscous diff in the basic version. That should make it a bit cheaper. Because this one, that's pretty hefty in price. Viscous should be fine, yes. Okay, pretty good, pretty good. Let's see, 18 is not too extreme. No, definitely isn't. Can we make them a bit larger? Yes, 700s. Okay, done here. Brakes. What do we put on there? So this one is supposed to be a bit on the cheap side. So I think we are cheaping out a few things. This one definitely needs around 300. But we are going a bit more to the drivable side here, and because we are cheap we go for solid discs here. Let's see, how much can we save there? 1 piston, and let's go for big ones there too, and hopefully this should be enough, because this one, I hope this one isn't too heavy yet, so that we need more pistons here, because that gets expensive quickly. Yes, this. No brake airflow, that's too fancy. And let's continue on to... How are 5 people supposed to fit in there? Alright, that's something new. Okay, anyway, just 2 seats, yes. And this one is nothing fancy whatsoever. So standard, solid build, basic, power steering, anti-lock, no bad idea. Bad idea. We do need drivability. So traction control, yes. Safety, standard. And standard springs. Do we want to go higher? No, we save this for the non-basic version. And no active sway bars either. A sports setting and a bit higher so that we don't bottom out. And let's see what this car is capable of. Whoa! Not too bad, not too bad. Some nice stats right there. And let's see here. 5.2 seconds, 0 to 100. That's pretty fast as well. Oh wow, this one has still a lot in it. See? Yes, yes, yes. I like it. See, wheel spin 11%, 6.2. No, that's much too slow. 5.5. 5.3. No, do we get it closer? Nope. 5.2. Yeah, I think that's about what we want to do. Looking good. We did get a bit of more wheel spin there, but yeah, drivability is still pretty high. But we do need the acceleration for this one. It should look good on paper too. What I'm really thinking of as some nice stats is this one looks cheap. 7,400 and 127.4, considering that we have a pretty big V8 in there. That's not too bad. Oh, yeah, let's save this car. Oh, it's already saved. And let's make a new one. So from here... Oh, wait, I haven't fine-tuned the suspension yet. Yes, I have. So, bottoming out? Oh, bottoming out. Oh, damn it. So I haven't. Let's see. There we go. Much better. Okay, now this car is done. And now we clone it to make the standard version. The standard version of this one, let me just put it in. The standard. And this one is supposed to have the standard engine. And still no all-wheel drive. And can we actually morph this one right now? I think we can. Yes, we could, but I'm not going to try this because that might still crash the game. So rear-wheel drive, yeah, we are going rear-wheel drive. This one, the standard engine we have in there, it sounds good. We've already done that one. So let's see what we're going to change for the gearing. Okay, this looks like it might not be optimal. Still 5 point... what? Ah, okay, it was still not updating. Yep. Alright, 4.8. Let's see if first gear is sufficient here now. 4.9, and we drop the 4.7. Yes, now we're talking. Okay, 4.7 seconds. We have lost a lot of drivability though, and sportiness, so we do need better stuff on it. Oh, the gearing looks weird as well. Okay, geared, and a bit better wheel spin figure, even faster acceleration. Stats are increasing, that's what we want to see. Definitely going for sports compound here, and maybe a bit wider rear tires. These graphs are not updating right now. That is a bit of a problem with the beta right now, but they should be updating once we press here. We are going to still put normal alloy wheels on there. Drivability really dropped down a lot. Huh. This is a bit scary. Let's see. Why is that? Oh, the braking is shite, and we should do this better. See, 3 pistons. Much better. And now we make them larger. Much larger. This may be something we have to do for the other one as well. Let me check that here. Oops, that's the wrong one. I didn't want to do that. Let's put the right engine in there again. I wanted to change this one. Okay, now they are good. Yes. Even more drivability. So brake fade we have a problem with though. 2.4, and that is the rear brakes, of course, because they are not vented. So let's go for 1 piston vented ones, and that improves the stats even more. Aerodynamics, that was fine for this engine, right? Okay, let's go back to the standard one then. I think this is just far too much power for this car. So let's see what we can do with the drivability to get it up again. I think we do need to have a bit of extra driver assists. But also I want to check why this is so fucked up. Ah, that's because we are revving so high, yeah, of course. But in the interior, okay, let's see what we can do. We probably want to make this a bit heavier to make it more drivable. And definitely at least premium. They are not fancy, so they're not going for sport in this one yet, but premium I think it is. And that is good, but we need... Should we go for premium? Maybe. Maybe. Ah, standard in this one and then premium in the next one, yeah. Electronic stability control, yes, we do need the drivability. And launch control for extra sportiness with all this power does make sense as well. No qualities given there yet. No shits either. So, let's see. Suspension. Still nothing super fancy in this one. I think we are going for some adaptives here. And then semi-active sway bars here. And we tune it again for sport to adjust the settings. We are bottoming out like crazy. And let's get rid of that. Yeah, the car has become more drivable again and more sporty and much more prestigious and comfortable. So slowly it's... Oh, and the off-road capability is the best. But I think we are wanting to even get a bit more drivability if we can. So I will be tuning it a bit more towards the blue line. And that means we want to have more oversteer. More oversteer you can achieve by hardening up the front a bit. Is that worth it, is the question. And dropping 0.7 in sportiness, I think I would say no. Now this car is looking much better already. So let's consider this one done, I would say. And let's go to the next model. And if we are going to reach 2 tons, I think we will. Now, we were still on a single configuration here. I think this one, just for the responsiveness of this thing, would be quite good to choose this one. Just gives us 7.6 more responsiveness. Then that should be good. But also we are knocking. Why are we knocking? Let's drop this one. 594 horsepower. Not too bad. And we are just at the limit with this one as well, I think. We can go a bit more. No, it starts to crawl into danger territory there. But now is the time to go direct injection. Because now we are going into GT territory, and that's definitely not where you want to skimp on such a thing. So let's see. We can up the compression a lot now, because we gained lots of octane. And there we are. 613 horsepower. Wow, not too bad. Nope, that's not what we want to do. Bypass valves as well. High flow, cat, Ollie. Mixture. Now this one will be sucking fuel like crazy. Maybe we don't need that. Let's see. 519 there. Yeah, let's go. This is just stupid rich. That is stupid rich. 11.5. Alright, fine. 11.5 it is. And then we have a bit more timing to go after. Yeah, 620 horsepower. I think that should be enough. Now we definitely have the power to put some more luxurious stuff in there. From here, I think we need to make a new engine family in order to go to the GTP version, the premium. And that would be a larger engine, because 4.5 liters is not enough. And what could that be? Let's see. New family. Also a crossplane. Yes, 5.5 liters, very over square. And this one also is running on the same technique, so that we don't have to put any more research into it. Let's first drop the compression down a bit. Cam profile up. 80 might be a bit too much. We are not revving that high in this one. Need to play out the turbo instead. Then injection, direct injection. Now it's time for fancy stuff after all. Performance intakes and super. And something like 11.0. Ignition timing up to 70. We want the responsiveness after all. And now we stop at 7,000 to try it out first. Short cast, we are going to make lots of power, more like 700 now, or even more. And bypass valves, dual exhaust. Whoops, that's now much too much. 800 high flow, straight through. And let's see. Oh, wait a second. No, we want to have reverse flow because we have bypass valves. That is the trick. So it's really quiet. And then once you push the throttle, then it becomes all screamy and sporty. That sounds fun. And this one doesn't have any power. Where's the power? I want the power. Okay, we could run on 80 RON. That's maybe where the power is. So let's see, 76, 70. There we have 77. And just because it's such a nice number, overshooting by 111. We just keep it at this. Let's see, what more can we have here? Fuel octane is reasonably close. Can we put a bit more revs in there? Yes, we can. Awesome. That's pretty good. And the reliability stays up there as well. Oh, nice, nice. Such a powerful engine. It's amazing. Okay. Then I think we're done here. Speciale or something. I don't even know if that's spelled this way. Anyway, this one is the GTS version. Now does have the correct engine in it, and again lots of power. And let's see, we might be having to go for all-wheel drive for the fastest one, but not now. So now we have to fight the 620 horsepower somehow. But now GT version. Let's put the fancy diff on there. That is in order now. I mean, 3,000 for a GT car. Yeah, that should be doing well. First of all, let's again try to make it heavier where it needs to be heavier, because this is now probably premium here, and then luxury in the next one. Oh, GT version. We can put. I think that this one goes with air suspension, adaptive and active. Yes, now we're talking. Let's tune this again. Yep, okay, that's looking good. And it's not too critical up there either. Still no bottoming out. This is all fine. Yes, definitely sequential for the GT version. Single clutch it might be. Yeah, that's fine. 6 gears. And we do sacrifice a bit of drivability here, but we do gain back in sportiness, which should be equally fantastic for this car. So, double clutch, maybe only in the GTS version later. So I think we are more or less done here. This is more than enough braking force. And no, yeah, that's good. That's good. 0 there. Make it as light as possible. Still only on 1 piston. I think we can go for 2 piston here and make it more comfortable as a compromise. And we're talking GT class after all. They focus a bit more on the nice to drive stuff. A bit more cooling. Like this. So that our reliability doesn't suck too much. So now we look at the performance stats. Cornering is decent for such a heavy car. 1,866 kilograms. Below 4 seconds. 350 kilometers an hour top speed. Not bad. And let's see what this one runs around the track. Sounds good. Well, 123. Yeah, it's pretty good for a GT car. The snorkel is out again. We have made the GTP version and just put in the GTS engine, the Speciale. And let's have another look at this. 777 horsepower. Let's see how we get this on the ground. It might be a bit challenging. 4.0 seconds. We definitely don't want to go for semi-slicks, because then, while we do get more sportiness, we do lose a bit of comfort and especially drivability, because those handle like crap in the rain, and we don't want that. And this is already maximum size. The only thing we could do is go for all-wheel drive in this one, and that might be an idea for that car. That would make it much faster. So yeah, I think it's time to change this trim around and go for all-wheel drive. Let's see how it performs now. First of all, we need to set the front-wheel drive. Yeah, that will help. Yay! Lots of wheel spin. Oh, an 80-20 or something. What is the weight distribution, by the way? That's the most, if you know that, that's the most tame point. Oh, pretty good, almost even. So if we set it to 47, that would make the most tame experience to drive. No, now the wheel spin is climbing in. Okay, so this seems to be kind of a good point. Yeah. Let's say we stay with this one. That looks excellent. But, we have braking problems again. In the GTS version we could do with a bit more smoothness and comfort. So we are going for this one. 3 pistons. Gaining us slight advantages in comfort. And basically nothing else. Costing us a bit. Not too much. Just a few dollars. Seems reasonable to do. We could drop the size then though. Or can we? No. Brake fade. Brake fade. This one not only becomes expensive, but also really nice in those secondary stats. Advanced safety, maybe. This car is so heavy. It's so heavy. More than 2 tons. 3.6. 3.5. Oh, this one. Yeah, there we should be at the limit, as you can see here, otherwise we break through the barrier of grip. And that is looking fancy. So basically, the suspension relative to the other cars is now softer, which makes sense, because this is like the most luxurious version, so we want a bit more of the other stats in there. And look at this beautiful engine looking out of the Z-bonnet. So, let's test the top version on the Top Gear test track. and see what... not top gate is. 121.87. It's not really that fast, but it is very powerful and it has a lot of top speed. And very luxurious as well, a true premium GTS car. So I think we're happy with this whole series. I will be checking through those again for the stats, but I think we haven't messed up anything. So let's leave it at that. And these are the beginnings of Brand 1. So let's see, we do have the small mid-engine body here. A really small mid-engine body, and that I think fits perfectly to this brand. We definitely won't be seeing anything over 2 tons in this case. And to make sure that doesn't happen, let's see what we can choose here. We definitely don't go for carbon fiber because that's super expensive, but glued aluminium is sounding nice. Mid-transverse, we're not going to have big engines in this one, but high revving ones. And double wishbone. There is of course no multi-link here just yet for the mid-engine cars in that configuration. And let's see, we are going for polymer because performance over being fancy, and also we need to be light, and it's definitely lighter than an aluminium body. I'm going to put on a few fixtures here again, and then let's see what comes out of it. Brand 1 just got its new model, and it's looking not quite as weird as its competitor, but still many of you will probably say, Killrob, what the fuck are you doing? I fully accept that though, and as these brands are just test brands, I don't really care either. This one definitely rear wheel drive, and for an engine, interestingly enough, I would say a very high revving inline 4, because that is nice and cheap, fits nicely into the engine bay, and fits the theme of kind of high-tech performance with not as much focus on being big and luxurious. What I'm planning here is that we have 2 versions of this engine before we switch over to a V8 flat plane. Which then should be able to get something like 3.2 liter or something, rev to the moon and just being awesome. And this one here can be de-stroked a bit to 1.8 liters for the small version, which helps it rev with standard internals, while the advanced version for the sports car, this will be the sport budget version, and that one will then have 2 liters with forged internals. So right now we can go with this one. Should be good. This is all naturally aspirated, and we are going to go for like 75 for this one. But we are saying that this is the base version, so we drop it down to 1.8 liters. And in this one we only go for multi-point, saving some costs, and no throttle per cylinder performance. How high does this one rev to? 7,000 maybe? Could be. Let's see. For this one already short tubular headers and no bypass valves though. And this one will probably make more than 180 horsepower. So we are going for a high flow cat and 2 straight through mufflers. Let's see, 145 and knocking. So that's where the power went. Let's see. No knocking, please. Yes, okay, more than 180 we have. I think we can rev this one to 8,000. 192, yeah, that sounds like fun. So that's the base variant. I will just be renaming things, and then we go on to, I think, design the car. In the base version of the car, we do want to go for a manual gearbox. This is probably... we are not not too focused on like super top-end performance, but on the other hand, we probably with this version want to get a piece of the light sports car market as well as the normal sports cars, and it might actually be fitting better into those categories, but we're not considering them right now. So let me see what we can do here. So we do need to go for top speed anyway. The good thing is we have so little torque, and the scaling is so light for this whole engine thing, because it's just revs. You don't have any weight in the drivetrain, even though it's oh yeah, it's mid-engined as well, so the drivetrain is small as well if it's rear-wheel drive. So I think we can go for a geared diff here. That is pretty high-tech, but that fits the theme of the brand. So let's do this. And then quality +1. Yes, they're looking nice and sporty, apart from this longsword peeking out of this car's bonnet. Next page. Brakes, vented discs, aerodynamics, fully clad. That's awesome. It doesn't need any cooling whatsoever, basically. 95.3. No air brake flow. So 2 seats. Difficult. I think we're going for basic. For basic. Is that a good choice? I think this is a bit too much into the direction of light sports car. So let's go for standard here and basic infotainment there. But no power steering in this version, but anti-lock braking system and traction control. And then a basic safety package here. Yeah, the other one is too heavy. That's too heavy. We can get it a bit more quality. Yes. This one isn't too expensive. So let's go with a rather advanced setup here already. Put it in sports trim and a bit more camber. And now we'll see what comes out of it. This is a pretty well performing car already. Yeah, very nice. Less than a ton as well. It might be a bit low on the comfort with... Ooh, oversteer. It can be even better. Okay, let's up this one first, getting rid of the bottoming out effect. Whoa, kind of impossible to set it up correctly. The question would be, how do we get rid of this? So we do need much more grip in the rear. But if we go too far and flip this down, then we are understeering like hell. Yes, okay. Wow. Now that is weird steering behavior. You steer and it feels like, oh shit, it's oversteering, so what? And then it's catastrophic understeer right at the edge. Yes. This is much better. Now we're talking. I'm happy with this little screamer, I think. Let's see what it does test track wise. So 5.10 to 100. And it corners really well. Braking is good. Oh yeah, let's check braking. We haven't checked that yet. Whoa! Okay, that is overkill. That is massive overkill. Let's see how brake fit does though. We need hardly any brakes at all. Can save lots of weight here. Still no brake fit. Now the brakes are set up properly for this car. There, yes. And that should help us get around the course a bit quicker. And what's nice about this one now is you see, okay, this is a bit more expensive in both material costs and production costs because it's more fancy, but it also has a bit higher stats and a focus which is a bit shifted in performance-wise. Ah, yeah. Now it's behaving correctly. And 250 kilometers an hour, top speed, 5.1 seconds 0 to 100. It's nice. Let's run it around the airfield track. Fun little car, I would say. 127. It's not too fast, but it's probably really fun to drive. 950 kilos. Yeah, it's great. Now we want to build the next one in line, and that would be the sport version of this car. So once again, we do make a copy, select a new one and call it just plain and simple the Sport. And this one needs a new engine and I think some fancy color. Yes, I like fancy colors. This one looks shagadelic. Yeah. Awesome. Alright, yeah, let's choose this. This is our base version. We want to stroke it up a bit. And for that we make a copy and select the new one and then call it the base 20 or the standard 20. Of course, that is our standard version. And the family capacity is locked, but this one isn't. And now we have 2 liters and we're going to put in some better stuff as well. Forged, maybe lightweight forged? Yes, this one is just made for revving, so let's go with that. But we also want to get power out like this. And now we are running into reliability problems again. And we do so rapidly. But 8,800, that sounds like a pretty good rev limiter for this kind of engine. And soon, 230. Yeah, it's getting there. It's getting there. Long tubulars, 240. 240. What do we have here? Open up the exhaust, 246. And the internals are starting to complain, and they should at that kind of revs, and I think we are done here. Let's put it into the car and see how it performs there. So, we have... Yes. Oh yeah, much higher sportiness from the get-go, but not much lower drivability. Doing okay here. We do see that we do need a bit more grip. And I think for this one we already put in the fancy stuff. As this one just cost 1,600. Yes. This is nice. And brakes. Yeah, now we definitely need a bit more here, but there's so much room for improvement. First, I think before we go on to brakes, let's reconsider the interior. And I think here we go for sport. Definitely put power steering on this. And do we need standard safety there? I think we do. But this is so heavy. Like adding 40 kilos to this. Oh my god. Maybe they get around with just making it really well. So we put 20 kilos extra on it. That's not enough, I guess. Yeah, that's not enough. Let's go for standard. Oh yeah, that's much better. Much better. Okay, we have to take the weight. It's still almost below a ton. So we don't need any more drivability from this. We're destroying sportiness here. That would go too much in the favor of drivability versus sportiness. Launch control though, I can accept that. That seems good. Still basic infotainment. We want to keep it simple and light for this one. Suspension, yes. For the sports car, I think we already go for Sports Active and put the best stuff in here. Yeah, alright. I'm taking that. Isn't this one looking fancy? Nice. Alright. Good car. So this one is completed, I think. Let's take a look at the performance. 124. Yep, not too bad. And what we forgot to check is if the gearing still is fine, I think. But it does look like it. 4.6. 4.2. There's more in it. Awesome. 4.1. Can we shave off another? Yes, 4.0. Very nice, and only 7.2% wheel spin. So the next step is to take this car to the GT level of things. So more fancy interior, more fancy engine, and still keeping a bit of the style of this kind of car. So lower power, high revving, and just awesome in general. I much prefer this style of car. But I'm European after all, so Who would have thunk it? And let's clone this one. And start from there. So this one is our GT. And our GT car definitely needs a new family of engine. And we put in it a V8 flat plane. Yep, this is a nice 3-liter build. Then we do an Alzi one here. Okay, let's go for VVL and make this one the smaller one of the two. And again, fancy internals. Forged. Lightweight forged? Yeah, lightweight. And this one has a bit of a smaller engine. A 2.6 liter engine. Yes. GG26. Right? Alright. Injection, direct injection, throttle per cylinder performance. Super. And maxing out this one. Going for something like 75 here to start out with, and 9,000 should be doable in this one. And yeah, let's give this one quality as well. We start out with long tubulars in this one and dual exhausts. Let's see, that should easily do this kind of power. So let's go for 360 there. High flow, straight through, none. See how it runs. 300 horsepower, no knocking, still a bit of headroom there. Wow. Okay, race gives a nice boost there, so that will be good for the 3.0 version there. And loudness is exactly 60. Very nice. Very important for the GT version. And let's continue on. Now we are going for dual clutch to give us extra fast acceleration, and maybe 7 gears. Ah no, we saved the 7 gears for the super premium version. 3 yeah, let's go with this. That's good. Semi-slicks, nope. Nope. Maximum size here. 1.5, very drivable. Ooh, yes. Bit more on the boring side, but this, after all, has become the GT car now, so it's not supposed to be super aggressive. Here we do want to have some fancy things on there. And fully clad here, still a bit of downforce. Makes sense, but but that's something we forgot for the other car as well. We need to put up the cooling a bit. So aerodynamics is set. Interior, okay, now it's kind of difficult. So we want to make the car a bit more GT-like, because right now it's still a lightweight sports car, like a premium lightweight sports car mainly. And that might be a bit too much. No, we don't need that. A bit too much into the wrong direction, considering what categories we want to get into. So I put a standard interior in here, which makes it so much more heavy. I think this one is good and complete. Let's run it around the track and see what it does. 122. Definitely a very well performing car, and yeah. Doing well in cornering, high speeds, everything. This is all looking good. Yeah, top speed should be there. Let's take a look at the stats. 3.5, quarter mile in 11.7. 292 kilometers an hour. Let's see, this is indicating that. That is a bit before then. That's perfect. That's about-ish at peak power, which it should be. And I would consider this one done. So now the next thing is to clone this one and select it. And now we call it the GT P, the larger brother. A 3-liter version. A nicer curve. 95 maybe even. 94, 95. Yeah, we can rev it even higher. Almost 400 horsepower out of these 3 liters. That sounds like a good deal. What do we need to hear? Oh, 405 and 427. Yeah, now we're talking. That is much better. Okay, this one should be at least offsetting the extra weight we are going to put in it now. Let's choose this engine. And what are we going to do? 7 gears. And put it like this. 3.1 seconds. Sportiness increased a lot already. And now first put in the heavy stuff. No, I'm not going for luxury there. But premium. And electronic stability. Oh, we have lots of brake fade as well. Fucking hell. But it's not in the front. It's in the rear. That doesn't help. There we go. Now those stats are much more fancy. Even better. For the tires, I think we up those a bit more. Yes, yes, yes. And yeah. Wow, got a whole another level of comfort here. We up this again. That was too much. Let's do this one. And magnesium. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. I'm loving it. Now this car is finished. The super tiny supercar. It's pretty nice. Liking it. Okay, I think I'm completely done with this now, but one thing I wanted to check, and that is if we have messed up the cooling in this car. And yes, we have. Like this. Very good. Reliability is up again. And it's all saved. Very good. And let's take a look at the list. Let's compare. Drivability. So we do have by far the highest drivabilities in Brand 1, and that was to be expected. They are much lighter and more agile cars. But we also have on average higher sportiness in those cars, especially for the base model. But on the other hand, if we look at comfort, the brand number 2 is much higher up there and gets into a proper grand touring territory. And prestige wise, wow, that's a huge difference as well. Look at that. 47, and our best car gets up in brand 1 gets up to 33. For the safety, we have a pretty similar thing going on. They just cannot compare there. Reliability, they're all doing pretty well. While I think brand 2 is on average slightly higher. Yes, with the 76 in there. And for price, let's see. The production material costs are not much higher there. They are higher in brand number 2 even. But the production units are much higher in brand number 1. So we did exactly what was supposed to happen. I repeat, we do have for brand number 1 high-tech, performance, fancy and light and pushing the limits. And for brand number 2 we have common tech, power, comfortable and solid build, heavy and reliable. And I think we did pretty well on these, looking at these stats. So now comes the comparison stuff. And for that we have to, or I have to first straggle along and put all the data from here into the spreadsheet. And that might take a few hours. This was indeed a massive task. It is now 1 day later, and after many hours of spending in this spreadsheet, typing in values and doing calculations, we have come to not only having all the stats in here, but also the full analysis being complete. And this went in the following way. First I put in all the stats for each car in here, That is all the relevant stats to all the target demographics we picked out. Then for these stats, I have calculated the individual desirability score for the individual stat for each car, for each stat of that car. And those are in here. And then those are, depending on the target demographic, weighted accordingly as to this list up here, or the big demographics spreadsheet you see here. And this worked out nicely, and the results I could show you here at the side. So first let's take a look at the analysis of the desirability and affordability of all the cars. And what we can see here, the desirability, is that in general we do have pretty high desirabilities for the respective cars throughout the sports categories, apart from specifically brand 1, which suffered a bit for the lower budget versions in the GT classes. But that is to be expected because they were much less comfort focused than the brand 2 cars were. Overall, the light sports category did pretty well, sports as well. And then we have the muscle car category, which looked good on paper first, but when you look at the affordability down here, you can see that, oops, those were reasonably good, but much too expensive. So value per price was really bad for all of these, apart from, well, no, that's not even good either. They were pretty bad. Not muscle cars, none of them either were muscle cars. Same thing goes for the commuter category. They are really no commuter cars, and while they are kind of nice towards a the big one here, the GT Premium version of brand 2 almost gets a score of 50 in desirability, but no one can afford it. So that question solves itself basically. Family Sport, kind of the same deal. It was a pretty good hit for the target demographic desirability, but the affordability is down low in the 20% range, even for the cheapest cars. And same goes for the sports budget category. There was not a single car in here which was fitting in really well in this category. All of these will probably return to the sport budget category once they are on second-hand sale. In the GT Premium category we have the inverted thing going on, like everyone can afford every car, and that basically meant made the best one win, which definitely the GT Premium version of brand 2 did, with a very high score of almost 65 here. And yes, so let's see how they were distributed in Marketshare, and this we have up here. And here we see that it is kind of like expected. You do also see that I have something called the exponent here at the side, which is the number I wanted to determine at the start of this whole thing. And I think I do have an answer to that, but first let's look at these. So we see that in the sport budget category, of course, the cheapest one gets the highest market share because the affordability was very low at only 38% at a maximum out of all of these. And the second one always gets like a really high percentage here for whomever can afford them. And in the sports car category, we are kind of perfectly in the field. And that one means that we have a nice distribution here, where clearly the B2 Sport brand 2 is pretty successful. That one was by far the best fit. And what I came to find out basically after I've built all those lightweight sports cars for brand 1 is that they completely missed the mark in desirability for these. They would have absolutely crushed the light sport and light sport premium categories. They had the perfect stats for these two categories. but in the sports category they kinda are lacking a bit. And in the GT category they just don't get up to the amount of comfort and prestige you need in order to compete in that category. And the GT Premium category only makes things worse. In the muscle car category they were able to compete a bit with their lower spec models, but overall, yeah, not doing well. They do have nice performance characteristics needed for the muscle car category, but not for that price. They are not good. Premium was a pretty good fit here, nice distribution. They do have the money to buy these cars, so that's basically why. But also here the sports car, the standard one, B2 sports car, did fit the bill the best for the commuter and family sport. Well, nothing really goes on there. So before we conclude here, I want to show you this little setup I have to check the exponent of this calculation, and let me explain to you where that number is sitting. So what I'm doing here is I have the base desirability of the different trims of each brand, and that one is taken to the power of this exponent here, exponent number 1. So if I put it to 2, then the desirability, the base desirability, will be squared, and that one will be used in the calculation instead. And that gives you different market shares depending on how high you go. So if we start out at 1, you can see that we have very even stats here. This, by the way, is the configuration for the sports target demographic. And what we see for higher exponents is that the higher desirability models get favored more than they should, basically. And you can see this here by increasing it to 5. It really gets compressed upwards, even though this is not a super affordable car. So if we go crazy here, like 10, you can see that this is becoming a bit wonky. Now you get not only like huge numbers, which we don't really care about, but also a weird distribution which is just plain unrealistic. Why do you say that, Mr. Killrob? Well, simple. If those two cars have an affordability of 29% and they are addressing the same target demographic, then the total amount of cars sold cannot get up to more than 29% if every car has to be sold. So that doesn't work. So an extreme exponent here basically destroys the calculations, and a exponent of 1 gives you a very, very even playing field. And because these desirability scores are very close to each other, that might need a bit of tweaking. And from what I've seen here, I would take an exponent of 2 or 3 to slightly accentuate the desirability effect. And that gives a slight shift towards the higher priced, more desirable cars, but not such that it becomes unrealistic in any way. And you can see this here. This one still adds up to some very good numbers, which are well below the 29%. But overall, the more desirable cars become a bit more sold for those who can afford it, which makes sense. If we take a look at exponent 2, this exponent doesn't factor into the desirability here, but instead onto the sum for the brand, which then is taken to the power of this exponent. So what happens if one brand is more desirable than the other and you set the exponent to 100? Well, just as you would expect, you get 0 market share for the one brand which had less, and 100% market share for the one which had more. Of course, this is not what we want, but this effect, I don't even know how that needs to be tweaked, because this kind of effect is already planned for the game anyway in the form of brand prestige, brand reputation, and brand awareness. And that will be factoring in there. If we then on top of that need an exponent here to modify the when you have a lineup or 1 or 2 brands or like 10 brands, and you have each one has a lineup of cars which fits better or worse, should the consumers be flocking more than they rationally would to the company which has the best lineup? That's basically what this exponent does. And that will be interesting to find out, but for now I think no more than 2 and 3 would make sense. But we will be seeing more of this once the game is... well, I'm not going to make another one of these, which is even more complex, with all the reputation and stuff thrown in too. That would be insane, and although I am pretty much insane, not quite that much yet. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed, and maybe if you are crazy like me and you're a Let's Player, you can ask me to get a copy of this sheet if you want to make your own lineups and stuff. That will be fun, but only if you send me the results so that I also can can check how these play out.